Hello and welcome to Tea Break Film Reviews. My name is Michelle and today I'm going to be reviewing the life-affirming Mr. Rogers biopic, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I'll say off the bat, this is a fantastic film. It's so wholesome it borders on cringy, but reserve your skepticism and hear me out. The plot is pretty simple. A journalist goes to interview Mr. Rogers and in the process learns how to deal with difficult situations and emotions in his own life. That journalist is called Lloyd Vogel, based on the real-life journalist Tom Junod, who actually wrote an article about Mr. Rogers. From the research I've done and from reading Tom Junod's actual article, most of the events and stories within this film that relate to Mr. Rogers' life are true or very close to the truth. The area in which the filmmakers took liberties is in Vogel's story, creating a heightened physical drama with his father and interweaving it with the interactions with Mr. Rogers. This creates a way to practically apply what Vogel learns through Mr. Rogers into his own life. And I think this is fine. Too many biopics try to exaggerate the drama of their subject's life because often key events happen too sporadically in real life. Mr. Rogers' whole demeanour and ethos about accepting situations and openly discussing issues would have been completely destroyed by fabricating drama into it and pushing too many unrelated events together. Vogel's article is a great way to add a time frame with a deadline to the story, and this makes for an excellently paced film. He also serves as sort of a template for an emotional transformation that the audience can apply themselves to. Okay, so how well did Tom Hanks do with the role? I am from the wrong country and the wrong generation to have grown up with Mr. Rogers, but through this film, I can definitely feel the weight and importance this person had. After watching this film, I went and watched footage of actual Mr. Rogers, and I think Hanks did a really good job with this character. Mr. Rogers is so iconic, and there is so much pressure in portraying him, but honestly, I can think of no other actor that could have handled it with such poise through his movements and his silence and his smiles. It was so well done, and this is aided by that perceptively well-written dialogue. I think it helps that Hanks himself is as captivating a person as Mr. Rogers. Matthew Rhys was excellent too, striking a perfect balance between the emotional and the physical drama. His acting was subtle, his character's cynicism was felt, and I could really connect with him as he gets to know Rogers. The filmmakers could have stopped at good script and good casting, but no, they gave us great cinematography, really inventive production design, a beautiful score, and absolutely seamless editing. They considered how to visually show the personality of their hero, how to best use the medium they're in much the same way Tom Junod uses writing to personify Mr. Rogers in his article. He writes his article like a children's story, frequently starting new paragraphs with "once upon a time" and using short and not overly elaborate sentences. For example, the doctors were ophthalmologists, full stop. An ophthalmologist is a doctor who takes care of the eyes. The way you read the article mimics the way Mr. Rogers speaks and delivers information, and the film does this as well. In fact, it has a really clever framing narrative, where the film itself serves as the content of an episode of Mr. Rogers' show. It begins at the start of the episode with Hanks singing the title song, and then he introduces Vogel's character and proceeds to tell Vogel's story as if it's part of that week's episode. The film ends with the end of this episode having completed Vogel's story, and then we're taken out into the set before the credits roll. It's so satisfyingly meta. Another scintillating detail is how, instead of using traditional establishing shots for cities and roads and houses, etc., they use a miniature model set, which is made to look like the one that Mr. Rogers had in his show. It's these types of details that really encourage a childlike glee in the audience. There is a feeling of closeness to the story and to the characters, and this was really important to achieve, especially for a person like myself who doesn't have that history of familiarity and attachment to Mr. Rogers. I left the cinema feeling like I was his neighbour, as cheesy as that sounds. Now that was the technical review, but let me address the title of this video, why more people should see this film. Apart from critics who watch the film in order to write a review, I think most of the people who went to see it were either familiar with Mr. Rogers, or were interested in seeing Tom Hanks being pretty much the best guy ever for a couple of hours. I was in the latter category, but I think the people who would benefit from it most are those cynical friends of the people who watched it, those family members who would prefer explosions over gooey drama. I think what pushes people away from watching a truly wholesome film like this is the idea that they're going to be preached at, told how to live and told how they're living wrong, but I think that that is precisely the pessimistic opposite of what this film is trying to do. At its core, it's inviting you to reconsider your adulthood as if you were a child, to not forget your childhood, like many Pixar films do. When Vogel questions Roger's life, his daily schedule of swimming and praying, writing, recording his episode, everything, calling him a saint, Rogers reproves him, saying that makes it seem like what he is doing is unattainable for others. This is endlessly relatable. We all get that feeling of hopelessness when we see someone living what we deem as the perfect life, and feeling like we can't possibly achieve that. What Mr. Rogers tried to say through his show to kids, and what this film is trying to say to adults, is do what you can, however big or small, the best you can, and that's enough, and you are enough. Okay, so maybe now I'm preaching, but the suggestion to share your emotions positively is a great thing for a film to encourage. And don't worry, Vogel's character is right there with us, asking the cynical questions and getting answers. And that's what makes it so satisfying. You can doubt, they want you to doubt, but that's okay. Therefore, when this film becomes available for streaming in your country, and you feel like you want some positivity in your life, or maybe you want to make someone else smile, give this film a go. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to see more videos, and comment with your thoughts on the film. This has been Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.